find us on page 236. 236. Please rise for the essence of the tefillah Me'ein Sheva. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ahel Hagadol Hagibor Ganora El Elyon Konei Shamayim Vaaretz Magen Avod Ve'imahod Bidvaro Mechai Meitim B'ma'amaro Hamelech HaKadosh She'en Kemohu Lefanav Navod Be'ira V'fachad V'nodeh Lishmo B'chol Yom Tamid Me'en HaBrachot El Adot Adon HaShalom Baruch atah Adonai Hamavir Ashmoteinu Bechol Shana V'Shana. We take a moment of silent prayer and meditation and join together at the bottom of page 237 in the words of Yehu Leratzon. Page 239. Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu dofi, Evinu, Veirshanu, Zadnu, Hamasnu, Tafalnu sheker, Ya'atnu ra, Izavnu, Lahatnu, Maradnu, Ni'atnu, Sararnu, Avinu, Ashanu, Sararnu, Kishinu oref, Rashanu, Shichatnu, Ki'avnu, Ta'inu, Titanu.
We resume on page 242. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'zadonu v'shegaga v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'dibur peh.
For the ways we have wronged you deliberately and by mistake, for the harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'imutz halev v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'tifashut peh.
For the ways we have wronged you by hardening our hearts, for the harm we have caused in your world through careless speech.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'chahashu v'chazav v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'rechilu.
For the ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, for the harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor.
V'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'fililut v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'zilzul horim u'morim.
For the ways we have wronged you by judging others unfairly, for the harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and to teachers.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'vidui peh v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'honat re'ah.
For the ways we have wronged you through insincere apologies, for the harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or neighbor.
V'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'chozek yad v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'masa u'b'matan.
The ways we have wronged you through violence and abuse, for the harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business.
On page 246. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha begalui v'sater ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha bifrikato.
For the ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, for the harm we have caused in your world by losing
Al
self-control.
chet shechatanu lefanecha begilui arayot ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha v'ma'achal uv'mishete.
For the ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, for the harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and
Ve'al
drink.
chet shechatanu lefanecha b'yetzer hara ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'neshech uv'marabi.
For the ways we have wronged you by giving in to hostile impulses, for the harm we have caused in your world through greed and
Al chet
exploitation.
shechatanu lefanecha b'latzon ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'netiyat garon.
For the ways we have wronged you through cynicism and scorn, for the harm we have caused in your world through arrogant behavior.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'sinat chinam ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'tuma'at sifatayim.
For the ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, for the harm we have caused in your world through offensive speech.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'lashon hara ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'tzarutayim.
For the ways we have wronged you with slanderous tongue, for the harm we have caused in your world through a selfish or petty spirit. Ve'al kulam Eloah selichot. Slach lanu mechalanu.
On page 249, our sovereign God of pardon and forgiveness, let these words of sanctity ascend to you. Unetana toketh.
ותפתח את ספר הזיכרונות ומעליו יקרב אותם יד כל אדם בו ובשופר גדול ייתקע וכל דממה דקה יישמע
Please be seated. We'll continue now further in our Machzorim on page 268 as we proceed to the Sefer HaAvodah, the service which recalls and in which we seek to emulate the priestly service Shebeit HaMikdash Haya Kayam at the time of the temple service. It seemed like a dream, but it was true. The returning exiles laughed for joy. God had done great things for them, and to God's name they dedicated a new temple. Here the ancient forms of worship were resumed and new ones evolved, chief among them the Day of Atonement. In the words of the Aleinu, long associated with this period of the year, we find echoes of the temple's rituals.
Please rise.
בארצות ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה שלא שם חלקנו בהם וגורלנו ככל המונם ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומועלים לפניך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
You spread out the sky and fashioned the land. You dwell in beauty far beyond sight. Your powerful presence is the loftiest height. You are our God, there is none else. We take as true your sovereignty, there is no other. As Torah teaches, embrace and carry in your heart this day. In heaven above, on earth below, the eternal is God, there is no other.
Please be seated. אוכילה לאל לחלי פניו, אשאלה ממנו מענה לשון, אשר בקהלם השיר עוזו, אבי ארננות בעד מבעליו לאדם מרחי לב ומאדוני מענה לשון. אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי וגיון ליבי לבניך. אדוני צורי וגואלי.
We turn now to page 272 for a succession of confessions as were given by the high priests of Israel, in the first instance for his family, later for the priesthood, and then L'chol Adat B'nai Israel for the entirety of the family of Israel. When the priests and people who stood in the temple heard the high priest, full of reverence, utter God's holy and awesome name, they bowed, knelt down, and pressed their faces to the ground, exclaiming, "Blessed is God's glorious name forever and ever." On page 274. So too do we confess our own sins. Please, I'm sorry, David.
Anna Adonai kaperna לחטאים ולעוונות ולפשעים שחטאתי ושעוויתי ושפשעתי לפניך אני וביתי ככתוב ביום הזה לכפר עליכם וצריכם מכל חטאיכם לפני אדוני תתערו.
On page 274, so too do we confess our own sins and pray on behalf of our loved ones. Let our homes be dwelling places of your presence, where love and justice are taught and practiced. May we always enter them with eager hearts, and from them go into the world with dedication and firm resolve, faithfully to carry out the tasks of life. Having confessed for himself and his family, the high priest takes the remaining goat and recites a similar confession over it for the whole house of Aaron.
Ana Adonai kaperna lachatayim velavonot velapeshayim shechatati
She'aviti
ושפשעתי לפניך, אני וביתי ובני אהרון, הכתוב.
ביום הזה יקבל לכם תפארתם, מכל חטאתכם לפני
Our reenactment continues toward the bottom of page 275. Again, the priests and people who stood in the temple court heard the high priest, full of reverence, utter God's holy and awesome name. They bowed, knelt down, and pressed their faces to the ground, exclaiming, "Blessed is God's glorious name forever and ever." The high priest draws out God's holiest name until they finish saying the blessing, and then declares to them, "You have been forgiven." Turning to God, he affirms, "O God, in your goodness and compassion, you have forgiven those whose work is to serve you." Like the high priest of old, may Israel's teachers today bear themselves humbly and be watchful of their responsibility. May their lives in the sight of God testify to the truths they proclaim to their people. Grant them wisdom and strength, O God, to sing your praise with earnestness and zeal, and thus awaken in the hearts of your people devotion to your cause and confidence in their mission. Since temple times, our gift to God is neither scapegoat nor sin offering, but an offering of heart and soul. Our gift is a vision of how life should be lived. Our offerings are unselfishness and strength, generosity, and service to others. Now the high priest, having confessed him for himself and his family and for all the priests, confesses a third time for the whole house of Israel.
Please rise. Ana Adonai kaperna lachatayim velavonot velapeshayim shechatu ושאבו ושפשו לפניך עמך בית ישראל ככתוב
ביום הזה לברך לכם תפארתם, מכל חטאתכם לפני
והכהנים והעם כשהיו שומעים את השם הנכבד והנורא מפורש יוצא מפי כהן גדול בקדושה ובטהרה ונופלים על פניהם ואומרים
As in humility the priests once stood at the altar, so we stand now in humility to lift up our offering to you. May we too be a nation of priests ministering to the needs of others, making clear in the world the beauty of holiness. The fire on the altar must never die out. Help us to tend it with care and keep the sacred flame alive. May the Spirit be sustained and preserved, an eternal light for all. We've reached page 282 as we begin the service known as Eila Ezkara. This Hebrew word Ezkara, of course, comes from the Shorish Zayin Kafresh, meaning to remember. So who are we to remember at this time? The martyrs of the Jewish people who throughout history sustained the light of Torah and preserved the tradition of Moses through sacrifice and courage, and they are owed our eternal gratitude on this day. On the top of page 282, we honor those too of every race, faith, and nation who have been innocent victims of cruelty, persecution, and murder, children, women, and men treated with brutality beyond imagining because they were marked out as being different. Yet on this day, we remember especially the suffering of our own people, for Jews, more perhaps than any others, have seen evil face to face. To the crushing of our bodies has been added the mocking of our ways, the burning of our books, the cursing of our faith. We have been homeless wanderers in a hostile world.
ונפשי עליי, ונפשי עליי, אשפכה. gabel yafucha ivranu zeidim keu gabel yafucha Benavji alai, eshpecha. Kivran zeidim keuga beliavucha. Gabeli hafucha Eiles kera Kivime azar lo Lazara harugei melucha.
These things I remember. Ele Eskara, the time of Hadrian, the deaths of Shimon ben Gamliel, Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Akiva, and their students. Of Akiva, it is said, he defied the decree and continued to teach in an age when Torah was disallowed. He was among those taken when the Romans put down the Bar Kokhba rebellion and led to his death at the time of the Shema. And though his flesh was flayed, he declared Shema Yisrael, to which his students asked, even now. He replied, all my life I have been troubled by the phrase, what does it mean, with all your soul, b'chol nafshecha? Now, he said, I know what it means, teaching to his very last breath, love God even to the point of death. I have always longed to be able to fulfill this, and now I can. And with his final breath, he whispered, Adonai Echad, the eternal God is one, prolonging the last word until life was gone. Thus was God affirmed in a godless world.
Benavji alai, benavji alai, eshpecha.
These things I remember as I pour out my heart. Though the Romans had forbidden the ordination of rabbis, decreeing death for ordainer and ordained alike, Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba risked his life to ordain 5 of Akiva's students. As the Romans closed in, Rabbi Yehuda remained and was caught and executed, allowing the students to escape. Thanks to him, the chain of tradition was not broken. In a similar manner died other scholars and teachers of Torah, Hanania ben Tradion, Chutzpit Hamut Karman, Elazar ben Shamua, Hanina ben Chachinai, Yeshevav HaSofer, Yehuda ben Dama. These were 10 martyrs among many. We will not forget them. As they died, they left the world changed. Their lives and their deaths made their faith immortal, their people enduring, their God eternal.
ונפשי עליי אשפכה.
On page 286, here the editors of our Machzor would have us transition from our recounting the story of the rabbis of old and the Beit HaMikdash and the temple in Jerusalem to a time following its destruction, to the creation of a new institution, our Beit Knesset. On page 287, equipped with synagogues and schools and with a library of sacred books searching out the will of God for every situation, we went out into the world, sometimes freely, sometimes under duress, to face its perils and meet its challenges, to establish in distant lands enclaves of godliness, to proclaim God's unity and sovereignty, and the demand that humans shall be humane. I'd like to turn your attention now to page 290. A shipload of Jewish refugees from Spain, swept by the plague, was compelled to land on a desolate coast. Among them was a man, his wife, and 2 children. As they struggled on through the waste, the wife died. The man carried his 2 sick children, but finally he fainted from fatigue and hunger. When he awoke, he found his 2 children dead by his side. He rose to his feet and cried in his grief, "Ribono shel olam, sovereign of the universe, you have done much to make me forsake my faith, but know for a certainty that nothing you have brought or may still bring upon me will make me change. In spite of it all, a Jew I am, and a Jew I will remain." It was not an Ibn Gabiral, a Maimonides, or a Spinoza who fulfilled the Jewish mission most truly, or rendered the greatest service to the Jewish cause. No, it was the many little obscure Jewish communities through the ages, persecuted and despised, who kept alive the flame of the purest monotheism and the supremacy and divine nature of the moral law.
ונפשי עליי, ונפשי עליי אשפכה.
2 millennia of exile, dispersion, persecution never succeeded in dimming the light of Torah in the lands of the Ashkenaz. We remember now the horrors of the Middle Ages, and most especially the 6 million of our people who died, each a million deaths. How many there are who rest in nameless graves, and how many whose lives were blown by the winds to every corner of the earth. We continue toward the foot of page 291 with one of the most beautiful melodies of this day.
Adore.
We stand now and in reverent spirit recall the victims of the Shoah, and especially this year, the anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto heroes who went to their deaths in so many instances on April of 1943. Please rise, page 294. Zot nit kein Mord.
Einmal als du gehst im letzten Weg, wenn Himmel entleine, verstellen Leute, weil kommen wird noch unser Ausgebänkte schon. Seht ab heute und unser Trott, wir seinen Gott, weil kommen wird noch unser Ausgebänkte schon. Seht ab heute und unser Trott, wir seinen Gott.
Wir seinen Lohn in unser Pein, in unser Weg. Und wo gefallen ist das Schwert von unser Blut. Schwert das Schloss von unser Bruder, unser Mut. Und wo gefallen ist das Schwert von unser Blut. Schwert das Schloss von unser Bruder, unser Mut. Was gesehen ist in your the final day. Because the dark and there is light, the blue of day. The time we've longed for will last to see. And our sisters run for some that we are here. The time we've longed for will last to see. And our sisters run for some that we are here. From land so green with plants to land so white with snow. We now arrive with all our pain and all our woe. Where our blood spring out and came to touch the land. There our courage and our faith will rise and stand. Where our blood spring out and came to touch the land. There our courage and our faith will rise and stand.
Yitgadal,
Auschwitz,
V'yitkadash,
Łódź,
Shmei Rabbah,
Ponar,
Be'alma Divra Chirutei,
Babi Yar,
Vayamlich Malchutei,
Majdanek,
V'chayechon u'v'yomechon,
Birkenau,
u'v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael,
Kovno,
Ba'agala u'vizman kariv,
Janowska,
V'imru Amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Leolam Ulamei Almaya,
Yitbarach v'yishtabach,
Theresienstadt,
v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam,
Buchenwald,
v'yitnaseh v'yithadar,
Treblinka,
v'yitaleh v'yitalal,
Vilna,
Shmei dekudsha,
Bergen-Belsen,
b'richu le'ela u'le'ela,
Mauthausen,
mikol birchata v'shirata,
Dachau,
tushbechata v'nechemata,
Minsk,
da'amiran be'alma,
Warsaw,
v'imru amen. Together, Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom v'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Please be seated. After the suffering we lay shattered, but refusing to die, we rose again. To tend the wounded and comfort the bereaved, to foster the orphans and reunite the separated, to strengthen old communities still intact, and to establish new ones in the distant reaches of the earth, to found new synagogues and schools, and to write new books, retelling the tragic and heroic story of our people, which has not ended and shall not end. Together, the State of Israel was born with love, labor, and unwavering resolve, despite the hostility of its neighbors. The citizens of this old new country gave a new lease of life to an ancient land. The pledge of 100 generations not to forget Jerusalem was redeemed. The ancient prayer for a return to the land of our ancestors was answered. Let us now honor the pioneers from every corner of the world who gave themselves to the dream of Zion and their people's future. Ha'am ha'olchim b'choshech ra'u or gadol yoshvei be'eretz tzalmavet or naga alehem. We continue forward on page 299.
Please rise on 298.
298.
Eloheinu ve'Eloi avoteinu, barecheinu v'bracha המשולשת הכתובה בתורה, האמורה מפי כהנים המקדושיך כאמור. יברכך on page 299, join with us. And so today, let us remember the earth's oppressed. Let us restore their human heritage, the weak and the weary, the victims of torture, and all who are imprisoned without just cause. Let us remember them, bring peace to every home, and comfort to every heart. We know the wisdom by which you would have us live. Oceans of ink have been spilled to say it. Be faithful, be true, love one another as you love yourselves, but the world is dark and cold with fear and rage. The hammer of chaos beats loudly within our breasts. How can we endure? This is the vision of a great and noble life. To endure ambiguity, make light shine through it, to stand fast in uncertainty, to prove capable of unlimited love and of hope. So we join together in the words of Kaddish Yatom, page 300. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, ba'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agalau v'zman karim v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach leolam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'rechu. לעילה ולעילה מנכ"ל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלותהון ובתוהון דכל ישראל, קדם אבוהון דבשמיא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיא, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
May the one who makes peace in the high heavens make peace for us, for all Israel, and all humanity. And let us say, Amen. Hashivenu, may we return. Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai Elecha.
And so this concludes our Musaf service. Mincha will begin both in this room and online at 3 o'clock. The discussion will be in the Friedlander in just a moment, as soon as Rabbi Gary manages to hustle across to the Friedlander. Once again, whether online or in person, Mincha will begin at 3 o'clock.